This is Davis Troxler, the proud owner of North Carolina Golf Academy and the Director of Instruction. Don't let your golf game suffer from this dreary winter season. Come hit some golf balls, take a lesson. You can call us at 336-324-2374 for details. Thank you, and keep it in the fairway.
Walkertown Auto Sales. Look no further when shopping for your next vehicle. Located in the heart of the Triad at 3076 Walkertown View Drive in Walkertown, Walkertown Auto Sales specializes in affordable and reliable used cars, trucks, and SUVs. They offer financing with good credit, bad credit, or no credit, with interest rates as low as 3.9%. With knowledgeable employees that are always willing to go the extra mile, you'll drive away with the car of your dreams at Walkertown Auto Sales. Check out the entire online inventory now at walkertownautosales.com. Welcome to the Pit Stop, the only radio show produced in the Triad dedicated to Bowman Gray coverage every single week. Join host Brett Wiseman for exclusive coverage and interviews with your favorite drivers at the Madhouse, plus recaps of the previous week's races, coverage of all divisions, modified, sportsman, street stock, and stadium stock. Tune in every Monday night at 8 p.m. on WTOB 980 AM and 96.7 FM, or throughout the week during the season on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. You are locked into Tobacco Road Sports Radio, your home for Triad Sports.
And you know this, man.
Like to have everybody's attention for a moment.
There's a stat. I don't like bringing up stats, but there's one stat about the Panthers.
In the world is James Harden better scorer than Michael Jordan?
No, he's more creative in that.
Traveling is not creative, Brandon.
No matter what the score is, and they've said it themselves, whether they're up 10, down 20, whatever, they know they can turn it on whenever.
Why did you have to bring up the Cowboys in this conversation?
Lived in Texas for 2 years and just could not stand to watch Cowboys football.
All right, listen up.
Welcome to The Rundown. Here's Desmond Johnson.
And happy Saturday morning, Triad, WWBG 1470 AM, locked and loaded 10 a.m. per usual. Every Saturday morning, it is The Rundown. I'm your host, Desmond Johnson, joined by the normal cast of characters, Hot Rod Funderburk in the house, Brandon Blakeney checking in from North Dakota, where it's going to be hotter there today than it will be here in North Carolina. Jalen Gilkey from WFM News 2. I know, right? And Larry Frank from Frankly Speaking Sports. All in the house for a loaded hour one. NBA Finals Game 4 recap. We got you covered. Did the Browns make a mistake signing Deshaun Watson to a fully guaranteed $230 million deal? We'll get into the specifics with that. Zion Williamson up for a rookie max extension of $181 million. My question to the panel, would you give it to him? And the question of the hour, who would you rather have on your basketball team, Draymond Green or Dennis Rodman? We'll get into all that and more here in hour one of The Rundown, the longest running sports talk show in the Triad on Saturday mornings. Fellas, I know Jalen was shocked there, but Brandon, you said the high up there is 84 today, 86?
I believe so, 86. It was 86 yesterday, man. So
we hit 84.
We're getting right.
Yeah, and that's probably no humidity. It's just hot.
A little light breeze, you know what I'm saying? We got that wind.
So as Brandon enjoys their 2 weeks of summer up in North Dakota, we go hop right into NBA Finals Game 4. My man Steph Curry went off last night, 43 points, 10 rebounds. He has been by far the best player in these NBA Finals so far through 4 games. He won't say it out loud, but clearly Finals MVP is on his mind. And as it stands right now, I see no reason why he would not receive it. Couple of storylines coming out of this game last night. The Warriors victorious, they even back the series at 2 games apiece, take back home court advantage with a 107-97 win in Boston and TD Garden. A couple things to point out here. Game 5 will be Monday, 9 p.m. on ABC and ESPN3. Steph actually finished with 43 points on 14 for 26 shooting, 7 for 14 from behind 3, 8 from 9 from behind the line. My man is shooting over 50% for the series. Just real quick, I'm going to go around the dais real quick on your thoughts on Steph Curry and his push for Finals MVP. Let's start off with you, Jalen. Your thoughts on what you've seen from Chef Curry and what he's doing to these boys in Boston right now.
I mean, he's doing what he needs to do to keep his team from getting swept. Keep him afloat. I mean, if he wasn't out there producing at this level, then Golden State would have been packed up and sent home by now.
He really is keeping him afloat. Like
he's keeping him afloat.
Because we don't know where Clay is half the time. Like Clay is real.
He's struggling right now.
Freaky.
He's up and down. He's up and down. Yeah.
He's real, and he looks about a half step slower than what we're used to, which might be the new norm for Clay. I mean, coming back from Achilles and ACL.
We will see next year, right? I mean, two devastating, catastrophic injuries. He's recovering from.
Yeah,
but I've been thoroughly impressed from the chef. There was some kind of shakiness in the fourth quarter of the previous 3 games. I know one game was that game 3. He didn't even play in the fourth quarter because they were getting smoked. So, but I think he only had like maybe 5 points coming into the night in the fourth quarter. But he fixed that, improved that last night, going berserk and carrying the boys not to and through the finish line in Boston, where the environment was rocking. It was crazy atmosphere to start the game, pretty much the whole game, just like game 3. And for him to have those moments like he had last night, it was special to see. And I think this was going 7, like I said before, and whoever wins the last game is going to win it all. But I
picked Warriors in 6, so right now we're on track for it. But the Warriors would have to win Game 6 in Boston for that to come true. So I don't know how that's going to be. Although Boston,
we pacing out for this one to go to 7, though. I mean, if you really.
It really is kind of turning into a Game 7 type feel. And don't think out there that the Warriors, if they get it to Game 7 at home, that this is a wrap, because the Warriors have lost a Game 7 in the NBA Finals before to LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers at home. So so this sitting one of those, and that team was strong.
The Celtics have only lost 3 games on the road all year. In the postseason, this postseason. So
going Larry, because I think you picked the Celtics, right? You picked the Celtics in 6.
No, I picked the Warriors in 7.
Did anybody pick the Celtics?
I did. I picked the Celtics in 6. Yeah.
Okay, let me go to you first then, Rob, because you picked the Celtics. Are you worried about Jason Tatum? Because he's had he took like 20-something shots to get to 20-something points last night. It feels like he's kind of reminds me of young Kobe a little bit in terms of the way he's like kind of hunting for his shot, but it's just not going for him. And I don't know if that's affecting the rest of the team or if it's something else, because they had some chances in the fourth quarter last night, and the Celtics revert to sloppy ball when they have to go too fast. Like they'll turn it over, they commit fouls, they can't hit shots. It's almost like if you speed them up, you can get them out of what they want to do, and that's what the Warriors were trying to do all night last night. Are you worried at all about your prediction as we're sitting here tied 2-2 and going back to San Fran?
Well, I don't think it'll go 6 now. I was thinking that my prediction would definitely be correct had the Celtics won their game last night. But since they did not win last night, I do have a feeling that Golden State could take it in 7. And if you guys remember, that's something that I said last week. I felt that the Boston could do it in 6, but if it goes to 7, I feel like it could swing over to Golden State. But as far as Jason Tatum goes, I think Jason Tatum's trying to do just a bit too much. He's turning the ball over, not for a lack of effort, but for just not being able to be patient and read and know where his teammates are. And you're right, the Celtics have played a little bit of sloppy ball, usually at the last 4 minutes of the ball game, especially last night. Before the 4 minutes, third quarter, Celtics would come down. They'd make that extra pass to catch, say, a Marcus Smart open at the three-point line, or even to catch Al Horford open at the three-point line. They just make that extra pass in the third quarter, and they were able to find the open shot and sink it. However, the last 3 minutes, it was as if the Celtics were playing single ball. Marcus Smart came down, shot 2 3-pointers in a row that he should not have shot, and missed both of them. Saw Jaylen Brown try to drive in and get double team and still try and do a fadeaway shot, and it rimmed out. They were not making the extra passes in the last 3 minutes of the game. I do feel like had they made the extra pass, that keeps them on a level where they're not rushed, so they cannot catch the open person for the Celtics. They can make the shot and then hurry up and get back on defense. But when they were missing those shots, the Warriors were able to get those loose rebounds, get back on offense and convert it, and of course go up by 10 points. So once that happened and the Warriors were able to go up by the first 3 points in the fourth quarter and then 5 points, you could just see the Celtics just rushing, and that game slipped right out of their hands, in which they had the lead pretty much the whole game. So I am worried if they continue to play ball without passing it, and I think the coach has to reel them in so that they'll be ready for Game 5.
I'm loving the fact that Steph Curry's having the series he's had, because I hate to take that Max Kellerman and some others in the media have led with, which is basically saying that they can't put Steph Curry in their all-time top 10 because he doesn't have a finals MVP award. To me, I already have him in my top 10. Actually, I think I have him at number 10 as it stands right now. And to be honest, it kind of feels like, and I'm going to throw this question to you, Brandon, it kind of feels like this finals series could be career defining for Steph, because really throughout his entire career, he's had LeBron James somewhere in his way, either in front of him or comparison wise in terms of who's the best player and that kind of thing. What happens if Steph gets to 4 and ties LeBron in terms of NBA titles, all with the same team and built around him? Is there a possibility that down the road over the next 2 or 3 years, because we've all said the Warriors window is probably like right now 2-3 years or so, the Warriors win this, beating Boston, one of the NBA pillars, and maybe grab another one. Is it possible that Steph could potentially pass LeBron in terms of top 10 status?
I mean, I think amongst the culture in the basketball community, that might be tough for people to accept just because of the impact that LeBron has had and how he's been so elite for so long. But numbers don't lie, man. I definitely think Steph Curry deserves to be in the conversation just based on what he's accomplished, especially if he gets a ring this year. I feel like when Kevin Durant came, people kind of, the Warriors were kind of the villains. Now Steph Curry's kind of back to being that Captain America that's around.
They're fun to watch again.
Yeah, they're fun to watch. And I think he's reminding people that he never really needed Kevin Durant. Like, they might have snuck one from LeBron without Durant, maybe. But now he's solidifying his legacy as I am that guy. And I do think it was always his team. But now, they're more enjoyable to watch, and he's winning with a different core. So he survived 2 rebuilds. I think it's really impressive what they're doing.
And plus we got to consider too what the Warriors overall could potentially be doing here. 4 titles in the past 6 years. So like they'd be entering 90s Bulls territory in terms of how many times they've been in the finals and the success they had there. Larry, I saved the hardest question for you. It has to do with Draymond Green. My man is out here just wandering around on offense. I don't know what they're doing. Steve Kerr, finally somebody whispered in his ear or something. Was like, hey man, Draymond's still out there. You need to get him out. So they took him out. He did come back in towards the end of the 4th, did have an assist right there at the end to kind of help clinch everything. But, man, I was yelling at my TV all night last night. Normally when I watch the Warriors, I kind of focus on Steph because Steph never stops running. So he's just constantly running around to get open. And it's just crazy to me to watch how he's really crafty in terms of just getting a little bit of space to get off that shot. Last night, I was watching Draymond, like most of the night on offense, and my man looked like either he didn't want the ball or – granted, I know every time he touched the ball, the Boston crowd gave it to him. But honestly, Golden State asked for that in the post-game comments the game before. Clay saying, real classy. Steve Kerr said the same thing. Draymond mentioned something about it. We all kind of thought, okay, either they don't care what the Boston crowd is saying, or me personally, I said on the score yesterday, I think that all those Golden State people said that on purpose so they could get amped up off of it on the road. And actually, Rod Funderburk, your comments came to mind when I heard them saying this. We were in a high school football booth doing a game, and we were talking about being on the road, and we were talking about your '92 championship team with East Forsyth. And you would tell me all the time you guys would rather play on the road than play at home because there's no better feeling than shutting up an opposing crowd when you're beating in their team in front of them on their home floor or base. So that thought was running in my mind when I'm hearing Clay going, giving shots to the Boston crowd and Steve Kerr saying something and Draymond saying something. I'm like, this seems coordinated. And then last night they come out and Steph, like really after one of those first threes he hit, uncharacteristically turns around and starts yelling at the Boston crowd. And I thought that kind of got Steph kind of hyped up. But Draymond did not show up in this game offensively. Steve Kerr had to bench him in favor of Kevon Looney. Jordan Poole got some extra minutes. But what do you do with Draymond Green for the rest of this series, Larry? Because on one hand, you need him for all the other stuff. steals, rebounding, assists, I guess. But point-wise, you're playing 4-on-5 out here right now. And really it's, 5-on-3.5 because Clay's still trying to get back. What do you do with Draymond? If you were Steve Kerr, what do you do with Draymond Green?
It's a good question, but he almost looks like when you watch this game, and I said it to myself as I'm watching this, he's a liability at some points to this team when he's out there. To me, he looked lost. I don't know if that's the right term, but he didn't look like he was part of the team when they were out there. I thought Looney was a way heck of a more effective when he was in there than when Draymond was in there last night. I think Looney had just as many rebounds, if not more, and had 6 points in this game. But to answer your question, I don't know what you do with this guy because you cannot put him out here and have him cost you a game. Not in the championship finals like this. I mean, you got to put your best 5 out there as much as you can. I was almost surprised at how bad he played yesterday, as I was at Kerr not starting Curry in the fourth quarter when he was so hot yesterday. And I understood why, but it was almost like, what are you doing keeping this guy out there? Poole was playing great. You had Looney playing effectively. Draymond was just not there. And I don't know what anybody else thought, but I really thought, and if it is the crowd that you said, Desmond, shame on Green. You're a professional. You know there's going to be hostile environments. You know the guard's going to be hostile. Not that it's right, but at the end of the day, you're a professional, and you should know better than to let that affect you. I just think he's playing terrible right now, and there's got to be some questions there on how many minutes do you give this guy? Is it worth taking the risk at him playing like he did last night in Game 5, or do you put somebody else out there more minutes? Or do you pull the plug on him a little quicker than you did last night?
He's getting paid $25 million a year, and
ridiculous.
It's funny because everyone's more focused on him doing his podcast right after these games as opposed to his performance in the games. And if you really think about it, Draymond has been declining for the past 3 or 4 years. I know the year right after Durant left, Clay first got hurt. Steph got hurt early in the season. They basically sat him, and the Warriors won 15 games. It was just Draymond and a bunch of random people out there, and he kind of got exposed then. But now I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm just kind of like, is Draymond Green overrated, as a player? Because I don't really. I'm just trying to put in my mind what makes him so great, and have we talked ourselves into Draymond being this top 25, top 30 current player off of past success, but he's not there right now and hasn't been for a couple of years, but we still give him the benefit of the doubt. It feels like it's more, and we're going to talk about this in just a bit when comparing him to Dennis Rodman, it feels like it's more antics than actual skill when it comes to Draymond. And are we seeing, because I got to go look up his contract. I don't know when it runs out. I think it runs out in the next couple of years. Would you be surprised if the Warriors don't offer him money to return? Because I don't really see them continuing this championship window with a guy that can't score in that position, because he clearly cannot score right now and hadn't been able to really ever. He's never really been a scorer as a pro.
Well, I can't necessarily say he's never been a scorer, Des. There was a time when he was in the earlier finals, and he was in the finals. I think he averaged 27 and 9. He had 27 points, 9
Game 7 when LeBron and them came back.
Exactly. I mean, he's been able to score now. I think he's just declined. Sometimes he's kind of like that. I think I look at him as like a boxer who's coming up, who's really hungry. He's living in the slums. He has a one-room apartment, and he is hungry. And he comes out and he fights. But the problem is the boxer gets civilized. He gets that money. And then that's what happened with Draymond Green. Is when he got that money, instead of going to practice his craft and making sure that he can hit those jump shots, hit those open three-pointers, and practice and shoot 2,000 shots a day, Draymond Green didn't do that. He was satisfied. And as you can see, his numbers after that, Jalen began to decline, if you look at that. So he didn't practice his craft in the offseason. Once he got paid and got the money, he was that fighter who became civilized, wasn't hungry anymore. And I think that's the Draymond Green that we're seeing right now. And he prefers to use antics and get into people's heads instead of playing straight basketball and let the game come to him.
And you mentioning that, if you look at these first 4 games of the series, I don't think he scored in double figures once, if I'm correct, just by going back to the game. I think he hasn't had 10 points even yet in the first 4 games at any time. But the one thing about Draymond that I don't like is his ability not to play well is taken away from some of the other guys that have played well. I said before this game started yesterday, and I don't know if you guys agree with me, I want to see who does better. I want to see Andrew Wiggins is going to be a key player or Robert Williams is going to be a key player. And when you look at that game, it was like the tale of two halves. The first half, the Celtics were crashing the board. They were going after the rebound. The second half, you know how many times they weren't crashing the boards? You looked, and Golden State was right there for a rebound with no Celtics around them. You know why? Because of one man. His name is Steph Curry. The reason is they were trying to get him. I mean, Steph was hitting from everywhere. But to answer your question about Draymond, it just proves something to you. And everybody in America found out last night. This team doesn't go as Draymond goes. It goes as Steph Curry goes. And
it's always been that way, even when Durant was there.
Yep.
I think Draymond made a comment a week or two ago about the 2 years that Durant was there. Somebody was passing a picture around of one of the NBA Finals from during that stretch where Steph has the ball towards the top of the key. There's 3 dudes near him, and you see Kevin Durant on the other side of the court like this, with his hands up, and there's nobody near him. And Draymond was basically saying, you got more open shots in your career playing with the Warriors and Steph than you ever had or ever will again. And Durant pushed back on it because you know how Durant is on Twitter. He's like, I don't see it that way, blah, blah, blah. And they went back and forth. But the point had been made. And actually, once it was said out loud, I'm like, you know what? He's right. Durant didn't get doubled hardly at all in Golden State. They couldn't. You can't double him when you've got Steph and Clay. You got killers out here at the three-point line, 2 of the best shooters of all time, shooting 35-foot three-pointers. And he's got a hand in his face, and he's still hitting them. So, I mean, I kind of get that logic. I guess my question now, with the series tied 2-2 going back to San Francisco on Monday night, can the Celtics win on the road again? Because I didn't think they could win before, but now I think they probably can. What does Steve Kerr do? I think the number one reason the Warriors are even having trouble in this series is because they don't have anybody inside. They have no one inside other than what's his name? The dude that's starting.
Looney.
Yeah, Looney. And Looney didn't start. Looney didn't start game 4. They had Otto Porter in there until Steve Kerr realized that was a mistake and put Looney in 3 minutes into the first quarter. Where are dudes like Jonathan Kuminga and Moody and the dudes that are at the end of the bench that were kind of their length that they were using early in the playoffs but haven't seen the court at all in the finals? I know that Kuminga's 19 or something like that, but Golden State was using their youth before. Do you think that Kerr, if Draymond keeps playing like this, do you think he has to dip in his bag and let Kuminga get some minutes or one of these other guys that can give him some length? Because that's the main thing keeping Boston in the series is their length on defense.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think Kuminga's development is going to show a lot of what they decide about Draymond down the line too as well.
Don't forget, James Wiseman is sitting over there on the bench, and if they literally had Wiseman in this series right now, that would eliminate a lot of Robert Williams and Al Horford's shenanigans down in the paint if Wiseman was able to be out there. You got a number 1 overall pick that's not even playing.
I mean, he was in the Rookie of the Year talks with LaMelo and Edwards whenever he was healthy and playing. That's definitely a big key piece they're missing, kind of like how Andrew Bogut was on those early championship teams when they played. But yeah, I think Kuminga's a guy, if he can get hot, he can score from anywhere on the floor. He's long. He can play the 4 position. He can beat his man down the court, and he might be able to help neutralize Robert Williams because he's been giving them problems with his length and athleticism as well as Horford, man. But I like Kuminga.
Quick picks around game 5 Monday night. Who you got? Celtics, Warriors, Jalen?
I got C's.
Larry?
Yeah, I think the Celtics, I mean, the way this series has been going is you win one, you lose one. So I'm going to go with the same formula and say that the Celtics prevail on the road.
So let's not overcomplicate it, huh, Larry?
Yeah, let's go back and forth, back and forth. Brandon,
let's not overcomplicate it. Right, stick to the program.
I think I'm gonna go C's as well.
Damn, Rod.
Yeah, I got to go Celtics. I'm calling, Celtics in 6 games. I don't have a choice. I got to go Celtics for the next 2 games.
And I'm in the same boat, but rowing the other way. I picked the Warriors in 6, so I got to pick Warriors here in order for that to happen. The Warriors really got to beat the Celtics 3 times in a row.
I think your pick's dead, Desmond. I'm gonna be honest.
I don't know because they haven't shown me they have any way to stop Steph Curry until something happens that tells me they figured it out.
There's Steph Curry, and then you could be the next 2 to 3 best players on the court or on the Celtics.
That's true, but hey, we've seen this before. There's been other finals. Hell, half the Bulls run, Jordan was the best player, and the other 2 or 3 best players were on the other team. That don't matter if you got the best player, then that can kind of wash.
But are they gonna rebound like that every game though? I don't know.
Who, the Warriors? Well, that's my question. They don't have any rebounders. They don't have anybody. Wiggins and Curry. Curry had 10 rebounds last night.
Wiggins had, I think, 12.
No, Wiggins had 16. Yes.
Yeah, Wiggins was on the. Wiggins had a career high, I believe, in rebounds last night.
I think Wiggins had a double-double yesterday. He had a great game.
People talk about Jordan Poole being an honorary member of the Splash Brothers and that kind of thing. To be honest, going forward, that third person should be Andrew Wiggins. Wiggins is the one that's the most talented out of all those extra guys that are on that team. This is a dude people forget coming out of Kansas that was getting comparisons to LeBron James, as he was coming out of college. He was the number 1 overall pick. This is a dude that normally you would have built a team around as your key piece, and Minnesota tried that for a little bit. But the fact that Golden State somehow ended up with Wiggins after trading DeMarcus Russell, or did I say his name right?
D'Angelo
Russell. So that was the quarterback for the
the Raiders.
That's Jamarcus.
Yeah, that's Jamarcus Russell. Oh my goodness, too many Russells running around here. But when they traded Russell off to Minnesota, for them to get back a former number 1 pick who's younger than 25 that they can groom and kind of put into that Golden State system, it's perfect for him because he's the 3rd option, maybe 4th option some nights, and he can just play his game. And I think he's going to be the key going forward. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to dip into some NFL real quick. More women have sued Deshaun Watson since the last time you saw us on the screen. It's up to 24 now. Did the Browns make a mistake guaranteeing this deal to Watson? I got into it with some people on Twitter the other day regarding this, and I'm like, look, I don't think that Cleveland even did their due diligence. I know that we assume they did because they're an NFL franchise, and this just seems like the normal thing to do. But I am very keen on Cleveland and how Cleveland operates, and I feel like they didn't even bother. They just were like, we'll give you the money, come on, play up here with us in Cleveland. They were just that desperate to have a quarterback. And now I'm wondering if he's going to play at all this season, which would be 2 seasons in a row where he ain't played.
2
straight seasons. And the way they structured this contract, it makes it sound like they thought the same thing. Did they make a mistake? And then would you extend Zion to a max deal? That's the question of the day. He's eligible for a 5-year, $181 million max rookie deal extension. The Pelicans have already said they would do it. Zion has said he would sign it if it's put in front of him. It hadn't been put in front of him yet. He ain't signed nothing. So would you do it if you were the Pelicans? If you're Zion, would you rather be someplace else? We'll get into all that and more here in segment 2 on the Rundown, WWBG 1470 AM and TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com.
You're listening to The Rundown with Desmond Johnson.
Area softball stars. Register for the Diamond Star Softball Transfer Portal Showcase June 14th and 15th at Bob Lewis Park in Asheville, North Carolina. This showcase is for any player currently in the transfer portal or any JUCO player. Get the opportunity to showcase your skills in front of college coaches from all levels. Over the 2-day event, players participate in evaluations such as softball skills and metrics by College Sports Evaluations, drill and team practice participation, and playing in 3 games. For more information, visit DiamondStarEvents.net or email Coach Ben McKinney at bmckinney@DiamondStarEvents.net. Franchise players.
Welcome back. Sports Channel 8's Ben Swain
How you doing, man?
I love that you guys are doing what you're doing. I love that we're doing what we're doing, because the local sports fan is really underserved in sports radio here in North Carolina. Being able to, Monday morning after the New Carolina game, being able to listen to local guys talk about the local game.
Franchise Players, every Friday afternoon at 5 p.m. on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com and at 6 p.m. on WCOG 1320 AM and WTOB 988. Blue Naples Pizzeria in Kernersville is now hiring. Come work for one of the best Italian restaurants in the Triad. Currently hiring dishwashers, cooks, front cashiers, and more. Great hours, great pay. Give them a call at 336-993-7707 or stop by and inquire at 1519 Union Cross Road in Kernersville. Start working this week. Blue Naples Pizza.
Looking to tailgate this summer? Stop by One Stop on the Way. One Stop number 6, located just 1 mile west of East Forsyth at 2748 West Mountain Street in Kernersville. One Stop serves fresh fried chicken and our famous taters 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Feeding a crowd? Get 16 pieces of chicken and sides for just $27.99. Craving wings? Come try our new spicy breaded wings. Get a 5-wing meal with 6 taters and a roll for just $7.39. Now in regular hot ranch or spicy. One Stop number 6, 2748 West Mountain Street in Kernersville.
Hey, are you sitting around wondering how much your house is worth in today's economy? Well, wonder no more. Just ask your agent. Jenny Fulton with Allen Tate Realtors can help. Contact Jenny today for a free analysis on your home. Call her at 336-978-0041 or email at jenny.fulton@tate.com and get the easy process started today. Why wait? In the market to buy? Jenny can help you find a perfect home in the Triad also. Jenny Fulton, Allen Tate Realty. Call 336-978-0041. Start the process and ask your agent today. Welcome to The Pit Stop, the only radio show produced in the Triad dedicated to Bowman Gray coverage every single week. Join host Brett Wiseman for exclusive coverage and interviews with your favorite drivers at the Madhouse, plus recaps of the previous week's races, coverage of all divisions, modified, sportsman, street stock, and stadium stock. Tune in every Monday night at 8 p.m. on WTOB 980 AM and 96.7 FM, or throughout the week during the season on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com.
Back to the rundown with Desmond Johnson.
Grandmaster, cut faster than any known, snow to the bone, full grown. He's a one of a kind, and Flash is gonna rock your mind.
Welcome back into the rundown here. Saturday morning, WWBG 1470 AM. Always a party every Saturday here in the Triad. Your number one spot for sports talk on your home for sports talk in the Triad, Tobacco Road Sports Radio. Shout out to Southern Broadcasting Media, WTOB, WCOG, getting our high school football schedules ready for the fall. Nobody covers high school football like Tobacco Road Sports Radio here in the Triad. Once again, not one, not two, not three, but 4 different streams of football games going on some of these nights during the football season. With the debut of the East Forsyth Sports Network, me and Rod moving over to that to cover every single East Forsyth football game home and away. Y'all need to keep an eye on the East Forsyth Eagles this year. I'm just going to say that. They got a lot of D1 kids running around over in those blue jerseys this year. And then, of course, our game of the week, Guilford County and WCOG, and our Forsyth County game of the week with WTOB. And, of course, we still have our network with Glenn High School also. So if you really like high school football in the Triad and you're really trying to get your fix, stick around with us throughout the fall. That comes mid-August of 2022. The Cleveland Browns, they gave Deshaun Watson $230 million guaranteed in this deal. I'm reading this article from Cleveland.com, from the Cleveland Plain Dealer, where basically this came out last night, about 6:30 last night. The Browns remain all in on Deshaun Watson, not looking to void the $230 million contract or trade with the Texans. People forget how much they gave up for Deshaun Watson too. They do have, because I've been joking online that it is the Browns, and they probably didn't even look to see if there's any kind of protection in the deal or whatever. They do have typical club protection in the 5-year deal. And then according to Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk, they do have extra protection in this deal that would enable them to void the contract in the event actions took place after it was signed or actions from beforehand that come to light that would prevent him from fulfilling his duties. So far, Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Browns, and the rest of that crew, they haven't seen anything that's caused them to change their view of Watson, including the 24th civil suit that was filed against him on Wednesday of this week. All of the cases are pretty much the same. 2 new civil suits have been filed over the past 2 weeks, brings the total up to 24. A new little twist: the Houston Texans have been added as defendants in the suits for enabling Watson to engage in the conduct. And then I did read this article from the New York Times writer Jenny Ventris, where a few non-suing accusers speak publicly for the first time, and that he had set up 66 massage appointments in a 17-month span, really from the fall of 2020 to the spring of 2021. And I'm like, that's like Wilt Chamberlain like pace in terms of he had to be getting a massage like twice a day from like the fall to the spring to get to 66. Like he had to be doing like 2 or 3 a week of just different massage therapists. Here's my question, because I've never had, well, I have had massages before, but not like a specific thing. It's always been like a couple spa. Me and my wife go, we get the couples massage, that kind of thing.
Yeah, sure does.
if you've had massages,
okay, whatever you want to call it, brother.
My first question that came to mind was: is this normal to seek out multiple massage therapists, or do you just basically get to one that's really good and that's your massage therapist? Like that's the first thing that I was thinking. I was like, why does he keep going to different?
It's not like a barber, Des.
It's not like a barber. But shouldn't it be? I would imagine it would be if it's a massage therapist, right? You're not just going to get random folks.
You have some massage therapists that may concentrate in deep tissue therapy, and it's a little more, I don't know how to put it, but it's a little more intense and rougher.
The family show, Rod.
You know, I mean, it's a little more intense and rougher, so they're really getting into your tissue. And then you have those massage therapists who, like if you have an injury, they're not going to be, it's not going to be a deep tissue. So they may specialize in massages based upon an injury that you may have. So there are different ones that do different things. Now, as far as 66 goes, 66. That's a whole nother kind of issue and problem. Because, I mean, and the only reason I say that is because I saw some footage where some people came out and said that Deshaun Watson continued to request that the massage therapist, basically put his private parts in their mouth and do this and do that. So, I mean, those are the requests that is being alleged that he made. So I don't know. 66 is different.
He's entering Bill Cosby territory in terms of like, if there's smoke, there's fire. Well, you just stepped into the campfire. Like literally, it's burning all over the place. Like there's definitely smoke. I mean, 66 in a 17-month stretch, like that sounds like addiction. Like he's addicted to massage therapists. Like, is that even possible? Like, I don't.
Plus, anything's possible, Des.
Plus, I don't even understand the logic of this. It's like, dude, you're Deshaun Watson. You're a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. You don't need to do this to meet women. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to do this. You can just go walk down the street in Houston, and people are going to be all over you. Yet you're having to do this. Like, and that seems to be the pattern.
I think it's a little bit deeper than that. Sometimes I think off of the cuff, and so what I'm saying is, it might be 66 massage therapists because sometimes people might say, hey, I need a massage therapist for this, and I'm going to pay you for your services, and we're going to agree on this amount. But then when the services are done, maybe you don't pay that person, and that person is angry. So now they're not going to be massaging you anymore. So now you go find the next person, and you do the same exact deal. And when you don't pay people, they get upset. You can ask Antonio Brown about that.
Didn't Antonio Brown get in trouble for that exact thing, not paying a massage therapist? Like, that's what got him in trouble. With one of the things it was, I can't remember what it was now. One of the things that got him in trouble, I think, with the Raiders.
He didn't pay his chef or something like that.
And he didn't pay that vaccination card.
Yeah. I am vaccinated. Like, I mean, like, we'll see what happens with Antonio Brown. I think he's working for Kanye West. Last I checked, I thought
making music, man, doing his thing.
Yeah, they're just doing. I think he's running Donda Sports or something. The agency that Kanye started, who I think signed Aaron Donald, if I'm not mistaken.
And they got Jaylen Brown too.
Yeah. So people say that Kanye's nuts, but he's also a billionaire. So we'll see
how that plays out. The Browns, clearly, they're not giving up on this. They structured it so that he's only going to get $1 million next year anyway. So if he does get fined part of his salary or something like that, they almost are expecting it. Real quick around the table, what week do you think you see Deshaun Watson play actual football this season in the NFL? Let's start with you, Rod.
2023.
So you think he's out the whole year?
Yeah, I mean, I really do. And it depends on who is out there is not going to agree with the commissioner's decision. And a lot of people say that this is the Browns' fault, but it's not the Browns' fault. The NFL should have jumped on this. The NFL have all these moral rules and all these moral cases. When this first came out, the NFL should have given him some type of suspension off the gate, or told the teams, or told the teams you cannot sign this man. Because think about it. Atlanta wanted him. I think the Panthers wanted him. There were a couple other teams when they came. Out. When the grand jury, yeah, exactly. So the grand jury,
I'm good with Matt Corral time, baby. We good to go.
The grand jury did not indict him. So when that grand jury did not indict him, and then the NFL didn't do anything about it, these teams were anxious to move on because they have a fan base that they need to satisfy and keep happy. And a quarterback like Deshaun Watson, who can come into a team who has the personnel that the Browns have. I mean, why wouldn't you go after him, especially when the NFL commissioner doesn't tell you that you can't get him? So, but I think with all this new stuff coming out, the commissioner has no choice but to at least suspend him for a year. So 2023, and that's at the earliest, to be honest with you.
Brandon, what do you think? When do you think you might see Deshaun Watson in a Cleveland Brown uniform? In a real game.
I think it would be unlikely that he plays this year. I'm gonna agree with Rod just because of the publicity and the backlash. I don't know, man. I think the Browns kind of expected it, like you said. That's why he's not getting deep into that contract this year. I think they knew that there was a chance, but I really don't see him playing this year.
Larry? Oh wait, sorry, I got you muted there.
I'm one of the different ones here. I don't think you see him for a couple of years playing. You got to remember, this is severe. I mean, forget about the football talent that everybody's talking about. Think of your fan base and taking this individual in, especially if you're from the female side of things. And do you want this guy leading your team? They have to take that into account, whether you like it or not, what their fan perception is. Number two, you look at people that have been suspended before for doing a lot less of things like whether it's drugs or Trevor Bauer with the Dodgers in Major League Baseball, got a 2-year suspension, and you're only talking about 2 people. Here you're talking about 66 people. And believe me, 1 person, maybe. 2 people, maybe not. But when you talk 66 people, there's an issue here with this young man, and he needs some help. He needs some help. And
sounds like he's been getting too much help, man.
Yeah, sounds like
really, right? But at the end of the day, I mean, how severe? I don't think it's a lifetime ban, but I don't think a year suspension is enough for this type of. If he is guilty, is enough for the crime.
Well, the problem is the Texas jury decided to not press criminal charges against him. And the way the NFL rule is kind of set up, it's so murky. It's almost like Houston saved the NFL from having to make a choice by just basically sitting him the whole year last year.
But Desmond, isn't Goodell very tough when he makes decisions and he comes down with punishment?
Usually, yeah.
So you would think this is going to be something severe. He's going to want to set a precedent here that if I ever see this again or something similar to this, there's going to be severe consequence. What is a 6-game suspension going to do for this man saying, oh, so I got suspended 6 games, I'm still going to make millions of dollars? You got to take money. And I think there is a clause, first of all, stupid for the Cleveland Browns to sign this man to a guaranteed contract, but there's got to be some clause in there that says if you are indicted in any way, shape, or form or punished, that we don't have to pay you. And if there's not, gosh, what stupid idiots the Cleveland Browns are.
Now, normally I would say that they are stupid idiots because they are the Cleveland Browns, but they did put in extra verbiage to protect themselves in case something happened. Now, it does sound more like if something happened going forward more than anything else. Jalen, your thoughts on this? When do you think Deshaun Watson actually suits up for the Cleveland Browns, or does he?
At earliest, I would say the second half of this year, at very earliest. So probably week 8, week 9, maybe. That's just an optimistic outlook on it. Just to kind of touch on some things that were already addressed, like Larry said. I mean, Trevor Bauer got 2 years suspension in the MLB, and I mean, the situations are a bit different.
Yeah.
But it's along the same lines. So I completely understand where you're coming from. But I just don't know if the allegations were severe enough to warrant an entire year suspension. I understand the numbers and the actual what he's being accused of, or what they're saying that he was trying to solicit from these women. Is it was an awful thing and shouldn't have been done. But I don't think it was actually the hard part here is, where does the line of criminal cross?
But the jury, it seems like the Texas jury kind of decided that for us already, right?
Right. So they said there was technically was no crime that was committed. He was just.
But the NFL never
he was very forward.
Yeah, he's just being very forward. But that's not illegal to be very forward.
And that's why it's so murky, because it's like being forward isn't illegal. It's
just not right.
It
may not be. It may be
immoral, but it's like But so the NFL is, how do they judge what is an actual?
They shouldn't. They shouldn't be the ones to judge that.
Exactly.
He's probably gonna lose some endorsements, but a season it could be a lot.
Yeah, but hasn't the NFL in the past never really sided with what the courts did? They always make their own decision based on what the NFL thinks, not what the judicial system thinks.
Yeah, the NFL do their own investigation.
Right.
Very true. But that's what I'm saying. But any other person that is involved in anything kind of like this, there is a crime in there that has been committed. There just might not have been charges filed. You know what I'm saying? Whether it be a domestic dispute or a fight with somebody at a bar or whatever it is, right? The person, the victim in the situation, they don't go ahead and press charges because they settle civilly, but those are still crimes that were committed. See, here the thing is is me being forward about what I want from someone that possibly could do these things or possibly not.
Yeah, he didn't take it.
It's very, 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 very.
But doesn't it hurt Deshaun Watson that he tried to settle with 20-something of these women $100,000 each? Doesn't that kind of say, when if I wasn't guilty of something, shutting you up just to shut you up isn't enough. I want to prove that, hey, I did not do this. Deshaun was offering him $100,000 to shut up and forget it. To me, that tells me he did not do something 100% correctly.
He knew something was he wasn't supposed to be doing this.
Well, Larry, the reason that I'm kind of with you on there, but that's the reason that I said I don't think he paid them from the beginning. I think there was an agreed amount from the beginning that he was supposed to pay him, and he dodged that amount. So now it's coming back around civilly. Right. So he's probably having to pay maybe a little bit more, but he agreed to pay them something originally, and I think he reneged on it. That's my personal opinion. I don't know.
That actually sounds plausible. And then plus the thing that we didn't know, the Texans are the ones that gave him the NDA to be able to give to these women to sign. That he one day went to his locker, there was an NDA in there, and he questioned it. They were like, yeah, use this going forward. So it's kind of wild that he was wanting to separate or extract himself from the Texans so bad. People forget this. This all started with him saying he didn't want to play for the Texans anymore and wanted to be traded. And then 2 weeks later, these accusations started coming out. And remember what we were saying back then, that we were trying to figure out?
I originally thought it was the Texans that leaked all
that we were starting to wonder, because the lawyer lives next door to the owner of the Texans or something weird or wild. And we were like, well, how would they know? People kind of forgot. If we connect these dots back together, okay, now the Texans are getting named in these suits too. Maybe the Texans did put this out there, through whatever avenues to kind of put it out. Because before that, the dude had been in Houston for 4 years, and we hadn't heard a single bit of anything regarding any of this until he asked for a trade.
Now, I had heard, don't know how true it is, that the Texans had provided some names of some masseuses for him, because when he got there, he was asking them. And so they were like, well, we know this person, that person. However, to me, you can't blame the Texans because they weren't in the room with them. They don't know what happened. They just said, hey, you need a massage therapist? Well, we know this list of people, or these is a preferred list of massage therapists that our players have used before or that are in our network. So that's what I heard had happened. And then when the lawyer got a hold of that information, he decided to name the Texans as defendants.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's a weird situation. Honestly, the way this is going, he'll probably play in week 1 against Carolina.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Like we're gonna see John in Charlotte week 1. Like I hope that doesn't happen, but we'll see.
How bad would that hurt your feelings, Des?
Hurt my feelings?
Yeah.
I don't think it would hurt my feelings. I just want my team to be. I don't want my team to be relevant. I know we were chasing.
Deshaun Watson is lined up under center week 1 in Charlotte. You gonna drop a tier or 2?
Yeah. I think it's gonna be Jacoby Brissett.
I think it's gonna be Jacoby Brissett because there ain't no way they're gonna put what's his face Baker Mayfield out there week 1. That would be a story if Baker Mayfield has to play and they're like 4-0.
Oh, he's gonna have to play this year.
I don't know if they're going. I don't know if they're going to let him. They're not. They kind
Well,
of.
what is your thought process if you're Baker Mayfield? If you're Baker Mayfield right now,
would you want to play?
You auditioning for a starting spot somewhere.
They still got a lot.
That's how I would look at it too.
Yeah,
it's a good chance.
You got to
for him
do your job, man. You got to do your job, man. He is one bad season away from being out the league.
Yeah. Which is nuts. It's crazy. He has not played that poorly to be at that same level. I would say that about Sam Darnold, but I wouldn't say that about Baker Mayfield, which is nuts. Hell, Baker Mayfield might be in a Carolina Panther uniform come August because apparently the Panthers are still keeping an eye on that situation. They just don't want to pay him any money. They know the Browns.
Jalen is Baker a victim of the city that he's playing in, and maybe somewhere else he could prove himself a lot better, not playing for an organization that's as poorly, not just on the field, but in the front office as Cleveland?
Just the entire sports city of Cleveland as a whole is it's kind of cursed and doomed. So I give him a pass there. But I think what's more responsible for Baker's shortcomings so far in his career is just his attitude. I think that's more responsible for where he's headed in his career as of right now. If he wasn't as brash, if he wasn't as in your face, front runner type and crybaby when they lose, then it would be more teams out there willing to take a chance on Baker Mayfield. But because he seems to point the finger sometimes when they lose and he comes up with excuses, as the quarterback, everybody knows it doesn't matter what you're dealing with injury wise. It doesn't matter what you're dealing with roster wise. When you go up to that podium post game and y'all lose and you throw 3 picks, you're supposed to go, this is on me. It don't matter what happened. It could be 2 picks off of my receiver's hands. This is on me. You got to eat it because that's just what the quarterback does. And that reflects well and goes and plays well in your locker room amongst your teammates. But when you get out there and, having problems with receivers, not talking to guys who are supposed to be your best player, being
got your wife saying stuff,
being part of the divide in the locker room as the quarterback, that doesn't play well to the other team.
Those insurance commercials he was doing rubbed y'all the wrong way. Like y'all just did not like those.
No, what did he say? I remember it was
the stadium commercials.
I think it was his second year, and they played it. It was the brand new one. It was like going into the playoffs, and it was a new one. And like they were, he was arguing with somebody on the commercial, whatever, talking about we're expecting a lot of people this weekend. And I was like, actually, you're not, because y'all didn't make the playoffs.
No, they did not.
And ever since that one, I was like, I'm done with this one.
Cleveland hasn't been relevant in football until Baker got there, really, for the past 20 plus years.
That's the balance, because it's like he's done so much for the city, taking them to a place they hadn't been since I don't think I was born.
They almost beat the Chiefs like 2 years ago in the playoffs. In a playoff
game, they were up with 3 scores.
Yeah, he was battling Mahomes, and now we're still talking about.
I don't know if he was battling Mahomes, guys. Remember, I think they had about 30 some rushing yards. So I mean, the running game. Yeah, the running game was doing that thing,
Nick
man.
Chubb and them boys, they
Chubb
like to
was
win the ball.
doing. That's what I'm saying.
And the Chiefs did not know how to defend the run.
Exactly.
Back then as well. So that's a very valid point. So we'll see what happens with Baker Mayfield. I'm blowing through this commercial break, so I want to get into this topic. The main topic of hour 1 is we're at the end of it. Sports Illustrated, Skylar Callahan will be on with us in hour 2. I think Larry's sticking around. There's some Charlotte news. The Charlotte Hornets hire Kenny Atkinson as the new head coach. He's currently sitting beside Steve Kerr on the sidelines with Golden State. I saw him trying to pull Steve Kerr away when he got that technical last night to make sure he didn't get thrown out. And Panthers minicamp going on in Charlotte. Skylar's been there all week. That's why the Believe in Panthers podcast has been on a break. We're just kind of melting that into a rundown going forward the next couple of weeks until we return back from our summer break in mid-July. Before we get to hour 2, though, the main question of hour 1, back to the NBA, kind of a what-if barbershop type question that we're known to do here on the Rundown. Who would you rather have on your team, Draymond Green or Dennis Rodman? And I wanted to ask this particular panel this because we have a nice mix of wisdom and youth. You like how I phrase that, so it's not.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So we got a nice little mix here of wisdom and youth to kind of decide this, because I don't know how old Jalen and Brandon actually were when Dennis Rodman was on his reign of terror through the league. Like I don't want Pistons Rodman.
So you don't really want the answers. You don't really want the answers, Des.
We talking Bulls Rodman, second three-peat Rodman, that Rodman. Like, would you want that Rodman on your team, or would you want this version of Draymond Green you're seeing on your team? That's your choices.
Oh, how you gonna put one in their prime and one in a slump?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. How about Draymond? When was Draymond's prime? Like the first,
just one
the
versus
first
the other.
championship.
Yeah, like the first championship.
Would you want 2015? Would you want 2015 Draymond Green, or would you want 96 Rodman?
Well, I want Rodman. There's no doubt in my mind. I wouldn't even hesitate in saying that.
Now, keep in mind, Dennis Rodman is the one who played an NBA Finals game and then 12 hours later showed up on Monday Night Nitro with Hollywood Hulk Hogan smoking a cigar.
I don't care what he does, Anthony. I want to see what he does on the court.
Mispractice.
I think my answer depends on who's my star. Who's my star?
That is an interesting.
Curry and Jordan.
Well, if I got Curry, I can't go with Rodman because he's not gonna be able to control Dennis. Nobody was able to control Dennis, but Jordan Black Jesus had them reins. He could come through and be like, okay, look, like he said in the Last Dance, he pulled up to the hotel room in Vegas, was like, yo, Dennis, get up.
Yeah,
we gotta go.
Up in there too.
The plane is still. I got the motor still running.
Come on, we got
your
some
pants.
chicken on this plane. Come on, we gotta get out of here.
Yeah, Curry not doing that.
Curry don't.
Yeah,
he don't have
Dennis,
that standard.
No. With Draymond,
Draymond would never do no nonsense like that. You don't got to worry about him out partying with Carmen Electra and all
that's
these
the
other
difference here, because Dennis brings stuff off the court that you have to deal with. Draymond doesn't do that, other than what he might say, like on a podcast.
He's more reliable.
Well, along with that, my question is, what's the rules content too?
Are we playing in 96 or are we playing like today?
Yep.
Let's say today.
But just,
well, give me Draymond Green.
2015
Draymond Green. Then give me.
See, I disagree because you look at points per game, look at rebounds points per game. He was much better scorer. Rodman, he was a much better rebounder.
No, he wasn't, Larry.
Statistically, he was.
Not statistically. I looked up his stats. I think the most he ever averaged was 11.8 points in one season was the most he ever averaged.
I'm talking overall career. I'm sorry. I'm talking
less than that in his overall career.
Rodman or Green?
If you look up right now, Desmond, Rodman and Green, just statistically, Rodman was a better rebounder.
Yes.
He did things.
Better rebounder.
The most Draymond ever scored in the season was 14, so it's not like we're really talking two different.
Right. I'm telling you, Rodman's statistics are better if you look his career up to this point of Green. If you look it up.
All right, so here's Dennis Rodman right here.
Wait, you got to look up. Des, you said Dennis Rodman of 96.
Yeah. So,
okay. I'm sorry. I'm talking overall. I'm sorry.
In 96, well, for his career, Dennis averaged 7 points per game.
Exactly.
13 rebounds a game.
I mean, for Draymond's career, he averaged 8 points.
So this is the 95-96 regular season. Of course, this is looking through the season. What was your average? They don't have the averages on here. Yeah, I mean, it's a bunch of 6s, 8s, 2s, 3s. I mean, like, he wasn't like a scorer or anything. I mean, but we knew that going in.
Right.
I'm trying to find what his average was for the season.
Well, see, in the finals of 2015, Draymond Green averaged 13 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists. And that was in the finals of 2015.
Hold on, I'll see if
I mean, honestly, I'd rather have the extra 3, or I'd actually have the extra 5 or 6 rebounds that Rodman would give me, and I'll give up to 5 or 6 points. Like for his career, Rodman's averaging 7 points per game, 13 rebounds a game, and basically 2 assists.
But in these rules today, Rodman, you're not gonna have him. Rodman's
you're right. You're talking. You're right.
He's gonna get kicked out. You're right. You're not gonna have him.
But you can't.
I mean, Draymond ain't getting kicked out. Rodman out. I mean, what are we really talking about?
Rodman was much rougher as somebody who did
he was a
stuff.
rougher player. Yeah, but the thing is, the only difference is the hand check. That's really the difference in the game.
But see, I'm talking about his attitude and talking. Rodman would get in the referee's face like it wasn't a thing.
In the referee face every play.
That's why he gets so many
every play.
Not in the same way that Rodman did. I'm telling you.
I think Rodman would be able to adjust to today's.
That's what I'm saying. If they let Draymond get away with this mess, he'd be getting away with it. Dennis would have been.
Because one of the things that Jordan has said about Rodman is that he's one of the smartest players he's ever played with. That I do think that he would have been able to. Actually, I think Rodman would be a beast defensively in today's NBA because
Rodman was a show. Rodman did what he had to do to make money on the court, to make money off the court as well. That was Rodman's show. That was his image. Like Dion had prime time. This was Rodman's image. And I'll tell you what, Rodman, I think a lot of people discredit Rodman for exactly what all of you are doing, for what he did when he wasn't on the court, some of his stupidity.
His gimmick.
You cannot take away the way that guy was on the court, how physical, how tough, and that's right. You can't do some of the things that you did back then in today's game, but that's not Rodman's fault. He doesn't play in today's game. He did what he had to do and what he was allowed to do within the paragrams of allowing what he could do, and he did it to perfection on what he was allowed to do.
If you remember the Michael Jordan series, Michael Jordan talked about how he had to get on Rodman knowing that he went and got kicked out of 2 games, I think it was. One of them, Rodman took his shirt off and threw it when he was
I remember that.
And Jordan blamed him and said, yo, man, you knew we could have won this game. We lost it because you lost your cool and got kicked out of the game. So that's what I'm saying with Rodman, man. If he's
same thing with Draymond. Draymond got kicked out of the finals in 2016, and they lost the finals.
That's true. That's very true.
Well, that was a culmination of. It was different than the room when he got kicked out of that. I think it was 12 technicals, and it carried over
because
from the
he was
season.
Showing out the whole playoffs.
Right, but it carried over, is what I'm saying. With this right here, now they got it. If you get 2, what is it? 2. Is it 2 technical fouls?
They still do the carry on where if you get to a certain
amount, still matter. If you get 12, if you get
in 2015, he didn't have it, and we said 2015 at Draymond Green. 2015, he didn't have it. That was in 2016 when he got kicked
That's when
out.
the Cavs won. Yeah.
Well, we can all agree that both of them lack common sense. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, they both have issues.
I push back on that a little bit because I think a lot of what both of them used to do was calculated. Like they knew what they were doing. Like you can't be.
They grown men. They know.
Yeah, you can't. Like
Draymond's really smart basketball.
And so was Dennis Rodman. Like Dennis Rodman was one of the first guys to get guard all 5 dudes on the court. Like literally, you could put him up against the center, the power forward, and this is back when they had 7-foot centers. Like every team had a guy back to the basket.
I think the most crucial part to this argument is who is my superstar. Do I have Kobe?
Yeah, because
who's going to be able to control the reins and really have that handle, or do I have a more soft-spoken guy that's going to let everybody, individually do their thing, and then we just be responsible on the court? Because if that's the case, then I need Draymond, who will be able to, be that fire, bring that energy, and be that leader on the court while still, having all the other antics. But if I don't need my guy to be our set leader on the field, on the court, give me Dennis every time.
The stat wise, they're about similar, except Dennis obviously is more rebounds and Draymond averages more assists. So you are getting a little bit different there, where Draymond is more of a facilitator of your offense, and Rodman is more of a jump starter of your offense off of the boards. So honestly, I probably would go with Draymond just because of there were times where they didn't physically know where Dennis Rodman was.
Yeah, you're right.
Times where they just didn't know where the dude was at. Like he just disappeared for 2 days and then show back up again. Like I don't know if I could handle that as a teammate, like not knowing
where a crucial like starter is at on a Tuesday, like during practice. Draymond's not going to give you that, but Draymond's going to give you the opposite. There's going to be times when you're playing in the game and you're wondering where Draymond is. Like, where's Draymond? Like, I see him. He's right there.
Not in 2015. Not in 2015.
Not in 2015. So if we're doing 2015, 96, actually, you know what? I keep forgetting we put that on there. I might take 96 Rodman because 96 Rodman, was there a better rebounder in the league that year? Was there a better defender in the league that year? Well, excusing Jordan and Pippen, but that Rodman on that 96 Bulls squad is the reason why many people consider them one of the greatest defensive teams of all time.
What wins championships, Desmond? Defense.
And like you got Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman out there playing defense. Like any of them can lock down your best player, like at any given time. Like there's no rest. And you can't really say that with Draymond and his situation. So I think Draymond would be a little bit more expendable. Like I think the Warriors could still make a run without Draymond.
You do remember in 1996 that Dennis Rodman was suspended for 6 games for headbutting the referee.
That vaguely comes to mind.
I'm just saying.
Remember?
And he was fine. And that's what I'm saying. I don't see Draymond headbutting a referee.
Do you?
That happened in 96.
I forgot about him headbutting the referee.
And he got suspended for like 11. I think he got suspended for like 11 games that total time. Something crazy. But Rodman headbutted a referee in 96, dude.
Oh my God. Was that the same year he kicked the reporter? In the mommy daddy.
Yeah, I don't remember, but it could have been. That's what I'm saying, man. The dude was off the chain, and he was with Jordan, the best.
But he was with Madonna that year too. You got to.
Oh, you gonna blame it on Madonna, Larry?
Hey, he was a car collector that year
That's
too.
a hell of an argument, Larry.
Look, Michael Jordan was like, I ain't gonna say what I found in his bed, what was in his room, or whatever. Then the very next like shot over is Carmen Electra like, I had to hide behind a couch with like a blanket over me. I didn't want him to see me like this. So I'm sitting there picturing Carmen Electra butt naked somewhere in Dennis Rodman's room, which ain't a bad, thought to have over the course of a Tuesday. And he's got Michael Jordan there telling him, hey, we got to go. I understand you having a good
pants.
time.
The Jets waiting.
We got to go. We got to get this ring.
I'm going to stand outside. You got 5 minutes.
and what did he do? He could have stayed. Any other normal man probably would stay. Like, nah, bro, I got Carmen Electra in here, there's a buffet downstairs.
Black Jesus can pull it up on me. It's time to go. The
Rapture
Rapture is calling.
I don't think Draymond. I forgot all about him headbutting the referee. I gotta go back and look for that.
Yeah, dude.
Matter of fact, while we sit there still talking, I might try to find it now because
that happened in 96.
Headbutt ref. I don't know if it'll find it. Oh, I actually did find it. Okay, hold on. We're gonna watch this because this might help decide here because I completely forgot that old boy did this. Dennis Rodman, what year did you say this was?
96.
Dennis Rodman in the 96 Bulls season somehow got away with headbutting a referee. I'm just going, yeah.
31 left to play. Dennis is out of the game. With 4 rebounds, 10 minutes he's played, and now he's going to try to plead his case.
So he's already been ejected. And he's talking to the ref. Oh, there it is.
No.
Stupid, man. Stupid. You already ejected. And then
that
you
was
go ahead
light.
the referee.
I was like,
Wow.
All right, now this is
He throws his jersey back.
See, now he's throwing the jersey.
Still yelling and arguing.
He hasn't gone nuclear like this. Luke Longley trying to consult. Oh, wait, there goes a Gatorade bucket.
Water or something went flying.
And
what year is it, Dan?
96.
Thank you.
96. Did Phil Jackson laughing?
And you on him with Steph Curry? Okay.
Oh my gosh!
You want him with Steph Curry? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to go with Draymond on this one. Although it would be fun. Now, what I'd like to see is Draymond versus Dennis Rodman. Like that's what I would want to see. 96, and we did that when we did the NBA greatest team ever bracket. It came down to what was our final four? It was the 87 Lakers, the 86 Celtics, the 2017 Warriors and the 96 Bulls. That was the Final Four. It ended up being 96 Bulls versus the 2017 Warriors, and we picked the 96 Bulls. And I think Draymond versus Rodman was actually one of those bits of conversation that we were having, who would win that. And we collectively thought that Dennis Rodman would drive Draymond Green nuts, and he would eventually get him kicked out the game for fighting or something.
Yeah, I think they both would have been ejected, to be honest with you.
Imagine the Rodman Karl Malone 97-98 series, but Karl Malone is Draymond Green, and then you get just like dynamite thrown on top of a campfire, I guess. So I don't know if we came to a conclusion here. Did we say we would pick Draymond over Rodman?
I'm saying I would.
I would.
Yeah, Larry's like emphatically no. That I would take Rodman over Draymond.
Well, you're taking all Rodman's bad points and comparing them to all Draymond's good points. Draymond is stupid also. And
yeah, but Larry, I can only go with the years that I was given. You know, if you give me
I'm talking overall.
We got to put some parameters. Right. Got to put some parameters on it. So, wow, we're going to save the Zion conversation for next week because I'm sure he won't sign a contract between now and Saturday. I say that he's going to sign it Monday morning probably for $181 million, but we'll save that for then. Got Skylar Callahan waiting in the back. Got Hornets news to talk about. Got Carolina Panther news to talk about. Cam Newton out here saying stuff about his trip to Charlotte last year. Jalen, Rod, Brandon, y'all welcome to stick around for any of this in hour 2. We'll be back in just a bit. You're listening to The Rundown, WWBG 1470 AM and TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com.
You're listening to The Rundown with Desmond Johnson.
This is Coach Rez, head coach of your Carolina Cobras arena football team. You're listening to TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com, your home for Triad Sports.
And you know this, man.
One stop number 6, located just 1 mile west of East Forsyth at 2748 West Mountain Street, Kernersville. A proud supporter of East Forsyth since 1983, serving fresh fried chicken and our famous taters 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. For a limited time, grab our Wife Saver family meal for only $13.99. 8 pieces of chicken and sides for 4 for just $13.99. One stop. Come see us at 2748 West Mountain Street in Kernersville.
Walkertown Auto Sales. Look no further when shopping for your next vehicle. Located in the heart of the Triad at 3076 Walkertown View Drive in Walkertown, Walkertown Auto Sales specializes in affordable and reliable used cars, trucks, and SUVs. They offer financing with good credit, bad credit, or no credit, with interest rates as low as 3.9%. With knowledgeable employees that are always willing to go the extra mile, you'll drive away with the car of your dreams at Walkertown Auto Sales. Check out the entire online inventory now at WalkertownAutoSales.com. Welcome to the Pit Stop, the only radio show produced in the Triad dedicated to Bowman Gray coverage every single week. Join host Brett Wiseman for exclusive coverage and interviews with your favorite drivers at the Madhouse, plus recaps of the previous week's races, coverage of all divisions, modified, sportsman, street stock, and stadium stock. Tune in every Monday night at 8 p.m. on WTOB 980 AM and 96.7 FM, or throughout the week during the season on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Carolina Cobras.
If I take that field, if my game starts to slack, I have no fear. If my brother got my gun,
Catch them all season long.
That's all we got. That's all we got.
On your home for Triad Sports.
Oh, are we right here? Are we right here? Oh, we right here.
TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Blue Naples Pizzeria in Kernersville is now hiring. Come work for one of the best Italian restaurants in the Triad. Currently hiring dishwashers, cooks, front cashiers, and more. Great hours, great pay. Give them a call at 336-993-7707 or stop by and inquire at 1519 Union Cross Road in Kernersville. Start working this week. Blue Naples Pizza.
Back to the Rundown with Desmond Johnson.
Welcome into hour 2 of The Rundown. I'm your host, Desmond Johnson.
You can hear us every Saturday morning across the Triad on WWBG 1470 AM and online at tobaccoroadsportsradio.com. You can also stream the video, Facebook Watch, the Tobacco Road Sports Radio YouTube channel, our Twitter account at Tobacco Radio, and on our LinkedIn as well. You can participate in the show, as you can see at the bottom of the screen. Type your question on the Facebook video post or the YouTube video post, and we will respond to it in real time. Give us your hot takes, your spicy takes. Give us what you think on our takes as well, and actually comment on what you're seeing on the show, just like our good buddy, a franchise player, John Money, just did, just checking in to remind us that David Tepper is a goof, which is a great segue into our Panthers talk here and Hornets talk with our beat writer from Sports Illustrated, Skylar Callahan, checking in with us. And what a great week for Skylar to check in. There's news on the Hornets side. There's news on the Panthers side. We're going to play Skylar Roulette. Skylar, you choose which way you want to go here first. You want to do Hornets or you want to do Panther stuff?
Let's do the Panther stuff first.
All right, let's hit the Panther stuff up first. So JP, franchise players, actually you can hear the franchise players episode at 12:30 p.m. this afternoon on tobaccoroadsportsradio.com, and new episodes of franchise players every Friday at 5 p.m. on Tobacco Road, 6 p.m. on WTOB and WCOG in the Triad, as we begin our high school football previews here in a couple of weeks. High school football season will start August the 17th, so we're right around the corner from that. We said we're going to start with the Panther stuff. Let's first news earlier in the week. Carolina Panthers billionaire owner David Tepper, there's some companies linked to him that are being sued for more than $21 million by York County in South Carolina over, quote, improperly utilized funds the South Carolina County spent towards building infrastructure around the site that was supposed to be the Panthers' new headquarters. That project was recently terminated by David Tepper. Rock Hill, South Carolina, where the facility is being built, is also included in the suit, along with Tepper's Appaloosa Management, DT Sports Holdings LLC, and Tepper Sports Incorporated. David Tepper is worth $16.7 billion. He's already spent more than $175 million on this project of 240 acres in Rock Hill. It got paused in March after Tepper's company said that Rock Hill had not come up with the $225 million. From there, it went on to the point where eventually Tepper just, pooched the whole deal, filed for bankruptcy to try to get some of this back, and that's where we are. Skylar, your thoughts on this? Is this just York County trying to save face, or is there something to this with them doing this?
I mean, I think there might be something to it. I mean, I don't think that they would to kind of make these kind of accusations or anything like that if there wasn't some truth to it. So I think there's probably something there. And it just, this whole situation just seems odd anyways, because why would you get this far into a project and put that much money into it and then all of a sudden be like, oh, like something's not right here. So like something just seems off with this whole thing anyway. But I don't know what they're going to do with that partially built building in Rock Hill. I don't know what they're going to turn it into. They're going to have to make it something. I mean, there's already $170 million put into it. So
yeah, they went pretty deep in terms of how far they got before they stopped. So
so I mean,
didn't the state pay money to for like the interstate stuff that's right there, like the bridge and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Didn't the state pay for that?
I think they paid for that. That stuff is still going on, I believe. I think that's going to be completed. So that part has nothing to do with the actual site that they're building, what would have been the practice facility on. So I think that's still going to go on. But as far as what Tepper's going to do, I mean, I think he's kind of killed all the relationships that he had down in South Carolina with this. So if he's going to look to build a new practice facility, he's probably going to have to be in Charlotte.
And I don't know where that would be in Charlotte. I always assumed if they did anything, it'd be out towards like the south end, like Carowinds, like area. There's still some land out that way. But if I'm David Tepper, I'm kind of reluctant to go drop another, $300 million or whatever on a practice facility. It just feels like the whole thing was handled weirdly. And it just goes on top of more stuff that's been around the Panthers really since Tepper bought the team. And I mentioned this, I don't think it was last week. It might have been last week, but we didn't have Skylar on for it. Is David Tepper becoming a quote-unquote bad owner? Like, does it feel like I know we've given him some leeway because he was a new owner. He came from the Steelers. He wanted to do it a certain way like the Steelers had done. But everything that's happened since he's took over the team, kind of been poor, like real poor in terms of like, you know, like as a team owner, how you'd want to be perceived. Some of that's not on him, but as the team owner, he's going to take the brunt of that. JP suggesting they knock down Concord Mills and build a practice facility there. There is enough room, and it's out there by the racetrack, so that'd be North
Shore. Trade. They may make the practice facility that was going to be in Rock Hill Bass Pro Shops.
Ooh, there you go. They can make that just a bigger Concord Mills. Or just make a huge Tanger outlet down there. Actually, that's probably exactly what's going to end up happening with that building. It's going to become a Tanger outlet
or a Halloween spirit store. One of the two.
Yes, it'll be a Halloween store in the next couple of months. Cam Newton was in the news this past week. He appeared on the Pivot podcast. Was actually a great podcast with Ryan Clark and others, where for the first time, Cam basically said that he screwed himself over by basically joining Carolina when he did last year. He basically started a game, after joining the team 3 days in or whatnot. Did you guys get a chance to hear or see some of the comments from Cam in that podcast, and what were your thoughts on it? Do you think that, based off of what he said, that this is done, Cam Newton with the Panthers? Because to me, it felt like he was saying he wouldn't put himself in that position again. And the way it looks, if he joined the Panthers again, it would be similar to that situation again, because they're not going to bring him in until they absolutely have to, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, I saw some snippets of it, read the quotes of it, and I don't know that it was so much that he's done with the Panthers. I think it was just the fact that he came in when he came in so late into the season, hadn't been playing, he didn't even get a practice, many practices under his belt before he even played against Arizona. I think he had maybe 1 or 2 practices, and then he played in that game. So I think it was just more the situation. But everything that I've been asking Matt Rule and Ben McAdoo, Scott Fitterer, it just doesn't seem like there's a possibility for him to come back. I mean, they're going to always leave that door open in case there's an injury, or in case they maybe make a move and decide, maybe let's bring him back. But I would make it probably like under 5% that Cam Newton returns.
Larry, if you were Cam Newton, would you retire at this point?
I would. He's not a good quarterback anymore. I mean, and it's hard for somebody who's had as much success as he did to realize that I'm not as good. Nobody wants to believe they're not as good as they used to be.
He wouldn't admit that on the podcast. He was very much asked point blank.
And I heard that.
He was like, I'm still, if you think there's 32 quarterbacks better than me right now, then you're just flat out crazy. And they actually went at him. It was like, yeah, we think there are. There are 32 quarterbacks.
And what you're saying, Desmond, is exactly right. He's having trouble accepting that he has taken a turn for the worse when it comes to quarterbacking. And there's not going to be a great situation. Who's going to want Cam Newton, that's a good team, to be a starting quarterback right now? No one, like you guys just said.
So he was kind of getting attached to Seattle last week, I believe, but that smoke seems to have died down too.
But why would you want him even in Seattle? He's not good. He went to New England, was terrible. Yes, I agree with Skylar 100%. The situation wasn't the best coming into the Panthers when he did, but who's going to need you in a perfect situation? No one. And, if there is one team that I heard little rumblings about, but I find it completely hard to believe this will happen, is some people say, what happens if Deshaun Watson can't play for the next year or two or whatever? Do they at least bring Cam in for a tryout? But if you're asking me, you're better off with Colin Kaepernick than you are with Cam Newton.
Yeah, I mean, with Seattle too, I don't think it makes sense for Seattle because you got Geno Smith already. You already have a 30-plus-year-old quarterback.
Right.
That's only going to win you 5 or 6 games anyway. So why bring in another one? So I think for Cam, like I've said from the beginning, if it's not Carolina, he needs to go somewhere like Baltimore or San Francisco that could use another veteran quarterback that likes to run the football a lot, because he can go and work in certain situations on those two teams. They like to run the ball a lot. So, if you have a chance to take some hits off Lamar Jackson in the red zone, or you have a chance to, kind of have another veteran quarterback around Trey Lance, and you can still move off of Jimmy G, I think it makes sense for those two. Outside of those two, I don't think there is a team.
Yeah, and you're right, Skylar. And if there is a team that Cam Newton ends up with, it's going to be a similar situation as it was with Carolina. Somebody's going to get hurt, like a Sam Darnold did last year, or another quarterback on another team, and they're desperate. There's nobody else out there that can fit either their system, and maybe Cam Newton is a risk. But to me, I think he's done. I don't believe, in my opinion, that he's good enough to be a quarterback in the NFL anymore.
It is getting to a point where it's like, if you add up the past 3 or 4 years of Cam Newton, because really the last really good year of Cam Newton's 2017, 2018, I guess, before he got hurt in the middle of the year. And ever since then, it's just been like a downward slope. I think I had held out hope that he'd have like a Randall Cunningham second half of his career. But looking back on that, Randall kind of stumbled into that, and nobody knew what he was going to be until, all of a sudden he's got Chris Carter and Randy Moss to throw to and Robert Smith to hand the ball off to. Like it amplified the talent he already had, and he was able to kind of melt it into that Vikings offense, which became one of the greatest offenses of all time. Cam is not exactly that. I think I've seen enough. Granted, I understand, and he said it in the podcast, you got to understand, I was still learning the playbook in New England like 8 weeks into the season. With Carolina, he came in like in October or whatever it was. It just wasn't going to be a good scenario, and now I think it's affected his reputation as a good football player in the league, where he may be able to play, but in order to find out for sure, you got to bring him in now, like in June, and let him be there through the mini camps and everything else. You can't bring him in September when somebody gets hurt and expect him just to plop him in and go, because he's never been that kind of quarterback. So I agree. I think it might be time for Cam he's got plenty of other things to do. I think he'd be fantastic on television. He's got a media company. He's got a cigar lounge. He's got all these other things. He could do that stuff, but really in the end, it comes down to the player. When they start saying retirement and thinking it out loud, they've pretty much already retired in their mind. And I think he's not there yet. So no team calls on him, he might get forced there. But
the more he plays, Desmond and Skylar, maybe you can answer this. Does it hurt his legendary status the more he plays and he underachieves? I mean, he had great years with the Panthers. Nobody can deny that fact. But the more he plays and the more he fails as a quarterback, does it take away from the great things he did in Carolina?
A little bit.
I think it does.
Yeah, I think it does.
Anytime you have a player in any sport that plays 2, 3, 4 years longer than they really should, it's going to taint their legacy. I mean, it is what it is. But I think, and I really hate to say this, but when you go and look back at Cam Newton's career, he had one tremendous season. And that was the year, obviously, that they went to the Super Bowl.
Right.
You take that one season away, I mean, is he just a really good quarterback? And would you still consider him an elite quarterback? Because if that's the case, why would somebody want to kick the tires on a quarterback that was never really elite outside of one season?
That's a good question. That's actually a really good question. Usually whenever it's brought up to me, I'm like, well, just look up NFL records Cam Newton. Because, I mean, while he didn't have multiple seasons like the MVP season, the dude's name is all over the record books. Yeah. Like, he's got some records that'll never probably be broken.
He was that alone, a damn good quarterback.
Yeah.
And I don't want to discredit that. But when
it was in a small space. It was longevity was not his thing, the way he played the game. And I think guys like Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray, Pat Mahomes have learned from Cam Newton's career to be able to elongate it,
Here's a question I have for you guys. So would you take, in the span of a career, Cam Newton or Donovan McNabb?
I think I would take, well, granted, you mean like, I'd take Cam. I would take Cam. I never felt like Donovan McNabb was must-see TV. Cam made me feel like every Sunday the Panthers could win the football game because they had Cam Newton. I never felt like that with Donovan McNabb and the Eagles. I just felt like he was a solid quarterback, a good quarterback. Cam had a little something extra. He had that little something that just made you want to watch him. I actually used the same description with Steph Curry. He's just got a little something else that just makes you fixate on him on the screen.
I think maybe Cam's greatness was maybe lasted longer, but Donovan's stability and consistency lasted longer.
Oh, yeah. So basically, really, the question you're asking is, would you take Cam top 5 years of his career or Donovan's entire career? Because really, Cam's career is really 2011 to 2017. That's really that pocket of Cam is pretty much, and the hot spot is 2014, 2015, 2016, where it went up and then it started coming down and the injuries started piling up on him. That's a really good question, though. Actually, that might be a Believe in Panther podcast topic.
Yeah,
coming
because
up.
I'll tell you what, I'm completely opposite of you on that one.
Really?
I would think Donovan McNabb. And that's just my opinion. I got to see, Donovan. There was something about Donovan McNabb that scared you, that I didn't have that same feeling.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know what it was. I mean, Donovan McNabb was just, I got to see him play so much, not live, of course, and I'll tell you what, it was just something. And it might have been that he was in the NL. You got to remember, the East was, I believe, and tell me if I'm wrong, was a lot better when Donovan McNabb played in it than it is today. It's terrible today. It's getting better this year maybe, but I'm talking the previous couple of years.
The Eagles peak when they were going to like 4 NFC championship games in a row, whatever. They ran the NFC East. I was thinking back on it. The Redskins weren't good. The Cowboys weren't good. I think the Giants were
playoffs watching him.
The Giants were going to the Super Bowl. So yeah.
I remember watching playoff games versus the Bucks. Then the Bucks lose. It's all because of Donovan McNabb. He got to the playoffs. How many times was Cam to the playoffs besides that one season? I don't know.
They won the NFC South 3 straight times. 2014, 15, 16. No, 13, 14, 15. I think he went 4 years out of those 7. The Carolinas never had back-to-back winning seasons, though. One of those years, they won the conference with a sub-500 record, and then won a playoff game. So I see your point.
McNabb was, and McNabb. Remember, people forget McNabb could run the ball too. McNabb was just a dangerous quarterback, and he had some good receivers. Don't get me wrong, along with him as well. And most good quarterbacks do have good receivers with them.
Now, I'm going to push back on franchise player JP Mundy here because I know he dislikes the Panthers front office. He extremely dislikes them. And he's got on here, that's an unfair question. Since the Panthers brain trust caused his injuries, I'm taking McNabb. Great as Newton was, he was always going to force an interception. The Panthers may have contributed to Newton getting injured by running him more than they said they would. But I'm putting all that on Cam Newton because Cam Newton knew how to slide. He knew how to get out of bounds. He would always look for contact. That's just the way he played. But again, the question is, would you take Cam Newton's condensed 5 years at peak, or would you take Donovan McNabb's 12 years career? For me personally, the 5 years would be more fun.
And what JP's saying is right. And I think, Skylar, you know both of them as well. The more intelligent quarterback was McNabb.
Yeah. As far as the overall game,
and that's what JP is saying on that. I believe on that message.
And for Cam too, I think if he doesn't play that way, he's not as successful either.
I'll give you that.
Yeah. Yep. So that I think it's just kind of comes with the territory. Some players have to play like that. Like if you tell Lamar Jackson to stop playing the way he is he as good as he really is right now? Probably not.
Lamar's defense, he gets out of the way of contact. Cam was like a linebacker playing quarterback. Lamar gets out of the way. Yeah. So I'd feel way more comfortable giving Lamar $300 million than Cam.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Every day. Yeah. Because he's more elusive. He knows how to miss tackles and break tackles and stay away from the contact, or more so Cam seeks it.
So before we hit our last break of the day, I did portion out some time here because Skylar has been – the Believe in Panther podcast is on summer break. We'll be back probably mid-July when they come back in for Maine training camp and everything else. You've been watching this week, Skylar, the Panthers in a mini camp of sorts. Before I go through, you just posted, and you guys can go to si.com to the Panthers tab, where you posted a way too early projection of the Panthers 53-man roster, and we'll go through that here in just a bit. But before we do that, I wanted to start right there at the top at quarterback.
Word coming out of these camps is that Sam Darnold looks pretty good. How much weight should I put into this, or am I getting set up for disappointment and failure again?
Like I've always said, it's always hard to judge a guy when he's wearing just shorts and a helmet. So we'll see.
True.
We'll see what happens when they strap the pads on and he's actually getting real pressure. But I would say the first phase of OTAs, it was kind of but I think all three quarterbacks kind of looked mediocre in that first phase just because they're still learning the offense. They're still installing a lot of things. Didn't really look comfortable. As we got going, he looked a lot better. And this past Wednesday, best I've ever seen Sam Darnold throw the ball. I mean, just dropped it in the bucket 3 or 4 times, deep downfield, hit Terrace Marshall once for a long touchdown. Had, I want to say it was either DJ or Rashard Higgins maybe on another one. I mean, he just put it – I mean, guys were draped over his receivers and put it right on the money. So it was good to see. He does look more calm. But, again, it's not full speed 100%. So we'll see what happens when that comes on. But at least, if anything, at least he's throwing the ball good when he should be, right?
Yeah. I mean, to me, when we talked about this on previous Believe in Panthers podcast where – we never really doubted Sam Darnold had the actual tools to be a quarterback in the NFL. It was really more of a he's got him. I mean, he's got an arm. I mean, he went, top 5 in the draft? He went. So, I mean, clearly he's got talent. To me, it was always more of a matter of he kind of lacked the thing that drew me to Jake Delhomme and Cam Newton in the first place, which was the it factor of wanting to follow him. Like he didn't strike you as a guy that you wanted to follow. He just seemed like a guy that was just there. So hearing some of the stuff coming out of this camp, Sam acting different in press conferences, talking different, seems like he's got a little swagger to him this year. I have no idea why. I don't know where it came from, but
like I told you the day he walked into the press conference, he started cracking jokes as soon as he walked through the door. Usually Sam just doesn't even look at us when he comes in.
Yeah, what's that about?
But well, guys, remember, he's got a new OC who's been very successful. That's got to do something for your quarterback for the first time in 5 years, first time in his career. He has a knowledgeable offensive coordinator. Let me ask you both guys a question. I'd love to get your opinion if you don't mind me asking. You take a brand new quarterback like Corral, who the Panthers took, and now you have him pretty much on the same page as Darnold because they're both learning the same new system. Is it different than like a Tannehill and a Malik Willis? Forget about where Malik was drafted, okay? But due to the fact where the plug could be pulled quicker on Darnold if he doesn't catch up, and do the things that everybody has expected him to do since they're both equally learning the system together, or does it not really matter? It'd be the same as it was an old system that Darnold already knew and that Corral has to learn.
I don't know. I'll give him a little slack because people forget too. Darnold went through 2 offensive coordinators last year. They fired Joe Brady in the middle of the season.
But my point I'm making, Desmond, is they both got to learn a brand new system. Whereas if you're a quarterback like Tom Brady, forget about the player he is, and Tom Brady ain't performing. You had Kyle Trask last year that also knows the system. But this year, you got a new system that every single quarterback does it on a regular coach like a Matt Rule or somebody, an experienced coach. Does it give you that extra confidence to pull the plug earlier because this guy is not ahead of the other guy from a system standpoint, or do you still take that experience into account?
I mean, Darnold doesn't have that much more experience than Matt Corral, to be honest. I mean, this is what year 3 for Darnold? Year 4? Year 4? Year 5? Something like that? No, this is year 5. This is year 5 for Darnold. And he's only, turning 26? Yes, so it's not like he's like a grizzled veteran or anything.
Well, he's my pick to be comeback player of the year. I told you that last
week. Say that. You did.
I did say that.
I've cooled down on Matt Corral the further away from the draft that we've gotten. Although I have no reason to have that. It's just out of sight, out of mind for the moment. What have you seen from Corral, Skylar, during these camps?
It's not been much. I mean, really, when they throw the ball downfield, it's not with Matt Corral. It's been with PJ and Sam. Now, they have thrown it a little bit here and there, but a lot of his stuff is just the underneath stuff that, like you saw him run at Ole Miss. So I don't know if they're going to start maybe they're just peeling back one layer at a time and just working on what he's comfortable with and then start going with maybe some of the more intermediate and then downfield stuff as we get deeper into the offseason. But I think the learning curve is really, really big for Matt Corral. And it's going to be really big, I think, really for all the quarterbacks in this draft class. That's why they didn't go flying off the board like everyone thought they might.
How many quarterbacks do they keep, Skylar?
Because they got 3 on right now, and they're still keeping an eye on the Baker Mayfield situation in Cleveland.
That's the tough situation. I had a hard time figuring out what to do on my way too early 53-man projection because, like, I have this feeling that they want P.J. Walker as the backup.
I agree.
Because he's got experience. He's won football games. He's 2-0 as a starter. Matt Rule continues to say that. There's something there that they like about P.J. Walker, and I don't know that Matt Corral is necessarily ready to push Sam Darnold for that starting job. I just don't see it happening between now and September 11th or whatever that first game is. And if you don't have that guy that can push him for that job, and I'm not saying P.J. Walker can either, but you have to have a security blanket. If Sam Darnold gets hurt, do you want him out there week 1?
No.
I mean, I don't think
Absolutely
so. I think you would rather go with P.J. Walker.
We've seen that movie last year. Like, I don't want to watch that movie again. Like, that's
why I went with the 3 quarterbacks. So, I mean, and to be honest, Larry brought up a good point, and me and Desmond talked about this a lot last year. For me, Sam Darnold's ceiling is Ryan Tannehill, and I think he could get to that. He's just got to get into the right system, which I think he might be now, under the right coordinator, which could be Ben McAdoo, and they just got to give him the time. So this is his make it or break it year. This is really the last chance for him to be a starter in this league.
Yeah, I agree with that. Do you think that – what are the odds of Baker Mayfield being on this roster week 1, do you think?
I would say it's still under 50%, but there's still a chance. I mean, I think they want to see if they can just go with these 3 guys that they've got and not add any more to that room. They still got to figure out, who's going to be lining up opposite of Brian Burns. Can they find somebody else in free agency or make a trade for somebody, or are they just going to rock with the guys that they have? Do they need more help at linebacker? Do they need more help at tight end? I mean, maybe even receiver. So I think there's other spots that they're looking at. So unless Baker Mayfield somehow gets released, which I don't think is going to happen at this point, I just don't think they're going to make a trade for him.
Hell, we were just talking about it. He might be starting for the Browns week 1, which would be nuts.
How funny would that be?
Yeah, totally NFL. As we pull up Skylar's way too early projection of the Panthers 53-man roster, you can go check this out at si.com/NFL/Panthers. I'm looking through it. Quarterback, we just discussed Darnold, Walker, Corral. That's what's in the room right now. We don't know if they're going to add somebody or not. They keep getting attached to Jimmy G and Baker Mayfield, but neither one of those guys may end up being a Panther. Running back room, I'm pretty happy with. McCaffrey, Foreman, Hubbard. How's McCaffrey look?
I mean, it kind of just like Christian McCaffrey. I mean, but the thing with him is they've not really done a lot with him. A lot of the reps have been Foreman, Hubbard, some of the other guys that they have, John Lovett, Darius Bradwell. So they've really been careful with him.
So they were telling the truth finally in terms of when they were saying they were going to approach it differently. Because we've heard them say one thing, we're going to run the ball 35 times. And then the next week they come out and throw it 50 times.
Well, understand, they got Deontay Freeman now, and who did an unbelievable job. I believe he was with the Titans last year when Henry went down. Yeah. And he still rushed for 500 yards in half a season. So, it's a little bit in case it's a good backup plan in the event that McCaffrey does go down again.
And then Hubbard had a lot of the snaps when McCaffrey was out last year. So I'm pretty happy with the running back room. Wide receiver room, DJ Moore got his bag earlier in the year. Robbie Anderson maybe in a prove-it year, which is kind of unfair for him to say considering the quarterbacks that were throwing to him last year, but needs to bounce back. Terrence Marshall Jr., I saw that he had a couple of nice catches the other day from Darnold, correct?
Yeah. Terrace had a really good day. He's had a really good OTA. I'm interested to see how he does when we get to training camp. But the point you made about Robbie, is this prove it year or not? DJ Moore had the same quarterback situation last year and still went over 1,000 yards.
That is accurate. That is very true. And there was times where Robbie just kind of disappeared. Now, granted, it felt like Darnold had more of a connection with Moore. Because there was some times where he wasn't even looking in Robbie's direction, which was odd because they played together with the Jets, and that was kind of what everybody was talking about. Oh, they played together, they're going to have this thing, and it felt kind of forced.
And what was weird to me, like I get him wanting to skip OTAs last year because he knew the offense and stuff. It was a different quarterback, but still, I mean, you can figure that stuff out. the fact that he skipped it this year makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
You're getting a whole new offense. And from what everyone's saying, from DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey, Sam Darnold, Taylor Moton, all these, grizzled veterans have been talking about how detailed and how long this playbook is and how very sophisticated it is. Robbie's going to be behind. I'm sorry. Like I know you can do your own workouts, but that has nothing to do with the install of the playbook. That's the entire point of OTAs. When you have a new coordinator, you need to be there.
Do you think Terrence Marshall maybe can slot into that number 2 with that situation you just kind of laid out there?
He could push for it, absolutely. Because I asked Matt Rule point blank, do you think Terrace is at the point where he could be your number 3 guy? And he says, yeah, he's already there. So if he's already there at number 3, he's ahead of Robbie. I mean, who knows?
And I'll tell you what, the number 1 position that could be that we haven't talked about yet is going to come at the tight end position. McAdoo loves to use the tight end. The question's going to be, is Ian Thomas or is it Tommy Tremble, if I remember correctly, going to be sufficient enough to be able to play in this offense? Because they're going to become a lot more than blocking tight ends in this offense with McAdoo. McAdoo he likes to use these tight ends like Kansas City uses their tight end and teams like that. So you're going to see a lot more emphasis on these tight ends than you've probably seen in a long since the Olsen days.
I love it because I think that's the thing that's been missing from this offense, and they started becoming more reliant on McCaffrey in the flat just to kind of dump it down to him because there was no tight end threat there. I think Tommy Tremble might end up being that guy, but we'll see. They got him and Ian Thomas back, so we might see some 2 tight end sets possibly from the Panthers. Offensive tackle, probably one of the strongest groups on the team. Taylor Moton on the right side, Ike Ekwonu on the left. For the first time, probably since Jordan Gross was here, I feel pretty good about the tackle positions with Carolina. Brady Christensen, Austin Corbett, Cade Mays, Michael Jordan in the guard spots. Actually, they've improved
that is Daly there.
And yeah, that's right. So
yeah, I had to make it. There's no way they're going to carry 5 guards, and Deontay Brown's not there either. So that guard spot, there's a lot of competition there. I don't know what 4 that they're going to go with, but that's my best guess.
Skylar, is Christensen going to get an opportunity this year? Because last year, all this buildup with Christensen, and they hardly played him. Maybe towards the end of the season, they played him a little more.
Towards the end, he played left tackle, yeah.
But everything I'm hearing from people that watched him play before he came over has been positive about this kid. Why isn't he getting that chance?
Well, he's going to get it this year, and I think it's going to be a left guard. Ideally, they would like to have Icky and Christensen on the left side. So I think that's what's going to happen. I just did an article yesterday. If you guys want to check it out at some point, full detailed. I got quotes from Matt Rule, James Campen, Brady, Taylor Moton. Really good stuff on kind of where he's at, the work that he's put in. So it's I think it's very promising that he's going to be a starter.
How much does an Ike Ekwonu, by just bringing in that one guy who's a big guy, who's very physical, how much does that help the other guys on the offensive line? And how much does it help the coaches solidify that offensive line and have more confidence because of just putting the one player like Ekwonu in there?
Well, I think it's going to help them a ton, but it might be something that benefits them 2 or 3 years from now because he's still a rookie. And as good as he is, as dominant as he is, it's still going to take him time to, again, go through that learning curve of the NFL. Anytime you make a jump and you're an offensive lineman, it's the toughest transition in football. So I think the one guy that you're kind of talking about, that's Austin Corbett in my mind. You bringing him in, came from a Super Bowl winning team.
Yes,
has had a lot of really successful years with the Rams, and even before that. So I think Corbett's that guy that really changed this line.
Putting Corbett in right guard beside Moton, and then you got Bozeman at center that came over from Baltimore. The Panthers, we talked about that. We'll hint around a little bit more as we get close to the year. But last year, me and Skylar in the preseason looked at the defense and kind of called out. We thought they could be a top 10, top 5 type defense based on what we were seeing on paper. This year's wild prediction, we're looking at the offensive line, and we're like, this offensive line, the way it looks on paper, you got Moton on one side, Icky on the other. Depth, they could be a top unit. Like they really.
You know what, Desmond? This helps the defense too because when you get that offensive line, you already have weapons on offense. in the running back, in the receiver end. Now you drive the ball. Now you're giving your defense a bigger field to play with where they can take more chances, do more things, maybe do more blitzes. So people don't realize how much more an effective offense really helps the defense. And number two, it keeps your defense off the field so they can stay fresh and ready to go. So in order to get that defense to continue to be as good as they are, it's so important for this Panther offense to be able to sustain long drives and keep that defense off the field.
I skipped down to the secondary because I do want to leave some room to talk about the Hornets hiring Kenny Atkinson here because we're up against the top of the hour. Cornerback and safety, we've thought that the secondary room is the deepest on this team, and based on Skylar's prediction, that does appear to be correct. Cornerback, Dante Jackson's back, J.C. Horn, basically like getting another first-round pick because he only played 3 games last year and looked pretty good in the 3 games we saw him in. He was looking like a shutdown corner. You got him back, C.J. Henderson, who they got in a trade last year, a former top 10 pick from just, 3 years ago. Keith Taylor Jr., Rashawn Melvin, Chris Westry. They got a deep group. You actually left Stanley Thomas Oliver III and Kalen Barnes off of it. Kalen Barnes, I think, will make it as special teams because I think he's the fastest guy on the team, probably. And then
if there's one guy I would probably take off, it would probably be Rashawn Melvin.
Yeah.
I just think he's the only guy that would make sense. Chris Westry, they really like his length, so I think it would probably be Rashawn Melvin if you want to put Boogie in there.
And then at safety, Chin and Woods are going to be your starters. Justin Burris is back, Sam Franklin, Sean Chandler, and Kenny Robinson. So I would assume Jackson, Horn, Chin, Woods. Actually, don't they play kind of like a nickel type of defense?
It's very multiple, but I mean they can play multiple packages and stuff. So I think you're going to see at least 5 safeties for sure.
Yeah. So I can see Jackson, Horn, Chin, Woods, and maybe Henderson in the slot or something like that. And then you'll have like Shaq, and I'm actually a little curious about the linebacking core, but we're running out of time on that, so maybe we'll dip into that a little bit more next week. I'm gonna blow through the commercial break because we only got about 8-9 minutes left to go here in the show, and I do want to mention or get into the Hornets finally hiring a head coach here before the NBA draft and the ramifications of that. Kenny Atkinson, current assistant coach for the Golden State Warriors, who are now tied with the Boston Celtics 2-2 in the NBA Finals. He becomes the new head coach for the Charlotte Hornets. It came down to him and Mike D'Antoni, who we both said we probably didn't want to have because he's 70 years old. Atkinson replaces James Borrego. He was fired in April after going 138 and 163 in his 4 seasons with the team. Skylar, your thoughts on this hire from I know you've been diligent and keeping up with all this stuff. What were your thoughts when you found out that Atkinson was the guy? And do you think it's a step up from Borrego?
That's a big question that I don't know if I have the answer to. I think after Darvin Ham was my number one guy, but until that Lakers job was taken up, I knew the Hornets were never going to get their coaching job filled because that was going to be the primary job, despite the how bad that team was this past year. So after Darvin Ham, I thought it had to be Kenny Atkinson. If you're going to hire Mike D'Antoni after firing James Borrego, that doesn't make sense. All you're doing is just getting the same exact guy that's older, not going to be around longer, and probably going to have the same kind of results. So they needed a new voice. And when Mitch Kupchak said that they needed a new voice, to me, that's when Kenny Atkinson kind of stuck out in my mind. I'm like, okay, this has got a guy that's got a little bit of different scheme, different philosophy, has a different background. So I think that's why he was kind of always the front runner after Darvin Ham. But if they take that next step, do they take the next step? I don't know. I'm still questioning even if they even should have fired James Borrego, but we'll see.
Yeah, they Atkinson, he's the second Golden State assistant coach to leave. Mike Brown took the Sacramento Kings job. Both of them are staying with the Warriors to the end of the NBA Finals. Atkinson was a previous head coach. That might have had a little bit to do with the decision. He coached 3+ years with Brooklyn before Brooklyn had brought in Irvin and Durant and kind of swapped up the roster. It was the Brooklyn Nets that had like Spencer Dinwiddie and
Jeremy
Pence was on that team. Yeah. And they were scrappy. They were a scrappy team. They improved each year. Kick me if this sounds familiar. They improved every year from a total rebuild until he resigned after the 2019-20 season. He was with the Clippers as an assistant in 2020-21, and then he joined Steve Kerr's staff in Golden State this year. 9 seasons as an NBA assistant. He's worked with the Knicks, the Hawks, the Clippers, and the Warriors. The Hornets have missed playoffs in 6 consecutive seasons. I like the pick considering what was out there. I think that Charlotte can really use Atkinson because one of the issues they had was defensively. They were allowing almost 115 points per game. Atkinson, to his credit, improved the Nets' defensive efficiency every season of his 4-year tenure. So that, it looks like it might be a good hire. I don't want to get out of here before, since I got Skylar on, beat writer for the Charlotte Hornets, before I get his opinion on what was the first thought that went through your head when you saw the picture of Miles Bridges holding the cup of he claims it was pink lemonade. However, there appears to be a joint or something in his hand as well in the picture. It's now deleted. My man is up for a max extension. He bet on himself last year. It worked. He had probably a career year last year. They're looking at him as potentially one of the pillars of the Hornets going forward with LaMelo. What did you think when you saw the picture? And do you think it'll affect his contract negotiations in any way?
It might a little, but probably not much. I mean, if he had done something like been accused of I don't even want to say anything, but let's say he was accused of domestic violence or
getting massages from 66 different massage therapists over 17 months.
Yeah, probably would have definitely affected what he was going to get. But for this, it's something that we don't know of. It didn't harm anybody outside of potentially just himself. And obviously it didn't harm him long term. So
I don't even think the NBA tests for marijuana anymore, do they?
I don't think they do. And I mean, but I'll just say this, he could be telling the truth. It could have been pink lemonade, but who posts a picture of pink lemonade?
That ain't pink lemonade. That would, yeah. And nobody posts a cup of pink lemonade holding a joint on Instagram for cool points like that.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was thinking.
My tasty fresh pink lemonade.
he literally just put a rap video out again, right before it. Miles Bridges is living in a world where he thinks he's something different than what he is. And what he is a professional NBA basketball player. That's the crazy part about it. So I don't know how that'll affect everything. But real quick before we get out of here, DeAndre Ayton sounds like he may be on the trading block. Would you go after DeAndre Ayton with these 2 picks here as we bring Larry back in? They've got the 13th and 15th. Is that right? 13th and 15th picks in the NBA draft coming up here. I think Charlotte's at a point where they don't need to keep drafting the same type of player because they already have a lot of these players in the system already. If you're Mitch Kupchak, you got your coach now. He's gonna preach defense. You don't really have a rim protector. Do you use these 2 picks on someone like a what's his name from Duke, the
Mark
center,
Williams.
Mark Williams? Do you use it number 13 on Mark Williams when it feels like you've already used that pick twice on guys like that, JT Thor and other guys that are in the system, or do you package those 2 together with say a Gordon Hayward and a Terry Rozier or something, and send it to Phoenix for Ayton and a first, or go after Rudy Gobert? What would you do? Do you use these picks, or are you going to package them together and trade them? Because it sounds like Kupchak's non-committal in terms of picking them.
I mean, I think I would probably go ahead and just take the pick, use the picks, because if we're being honest, picks 13 and 15, those are back into the lottery. And even though you do have 2 picks that you can send, is that really going to get you DeAndre Ayton? Is that enough? Even with Gordon Hayward, or are you going to have to throw in something else? You got to also
Jay Washington
of the Stepien rule. They can't trade back-to-back first round picks, so they can't trade a future first or anything like that. So I just don't see there being a way that they can get DeAndre Ayton, because I don't think 13 and 15 is enough. Now, if you had 5 and 8 or 6 and 9 or something like that, I think that's more doable. When you have 13 and 15, I mean, that might get you to maybe number 10 or 9 in the draft. maybe.
Larry, do you think DeAndre Ayton's value has decreased? Because from whenever I mention his name, most people come to me like, "Oh, he quit. He quit in that last game." That's like the lasting image that they have of him. Do you think if there was an opportunity, would you want him? I guess is the first question.
I don't think so. When you have the 13th and 15th pick, you can do a lot more than people give you credit for. And let me explain, and I'll ask you a quick question because I know we're going up against time. First question Mitch Kupchak has to ask himself, are you one big man away from getting to the playoffs? And if that answer is yes, that second draft pick might not be as worth as much as you think. And what I mean by that, why not take those 2 picks, move up in the draft, get the best big man that's available, then you have your team that you said has the ability to get to the playoffs. Now, if you're another team, name somebody who's terrible in the NBA that are a couple of players away at least, then you need those 2 picks to solidify. But if I'm them, if I'm keeping the picks, I'm going after Mitch Williams. He's a 7-footer. He distracts a lot of people. He's tough. He's physical. There's also Jeremy Sockin, a Baylor, who's another good player that might be available. But if I'm 1 pick away, Desmond and Skylar, why not trade those 2 draft picks and move up in the draft and get an unbelievable first round? Maybe the second. I don't have the order in front of me. I know Orlando's first, but maybe the second pick of the draft, you send away your 2 draft picks and get an unbelievable big man to play on this team. Because I tell you what, next year you're going to see a lot more of James Bouknight and Melo together because that's the way Atkinson likes to play. Remember, he's coming over from Golden State. Okay, that's an offense that likes to shoot the basketball. Okay,
and I don't have any problem with any of that. That's, if anything, that's what I think the Hornets need.
Right.
And I do think that they are a big man away from the playoffs. They were in the play-in this year. If they could get a solid big man that can protect the rim, I think the Hornets could really start to build on this with Bridges and Ball. We're up against it. It's noon. WWBG's got something.
Mitch Kupchak said that he did not want to make a move that the team was not ready for. So just keep that in
right.
mind.
So, definitely keep that in mind. We're out of time here. We'll be back next week. It's the Rundown, WWBG 1470 AM and TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. We'll see you next Saturday. Stick around. More sports talk for the Triad coming up. TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com, your home for Triad Sports.